Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai's Linux News. Let's kick things off with some serious security news that just went public. According to Fornix, a critical vulnerability called Zapscape has been discovered affecting the Linux KVM hypervisor. This isn't just any bug. We're talking about a guest-to-host escape vulnerability that's been lurking in the code since 2020, so it's been there for 6 years. What makes this especially concerning is that it can also be weaponized as a local privilege escalation exploit, particularly on distributions like Red Hat Enterprise Linux, where the KVM device is world-writable. If you're running virtual machines on Linux systems, this one definitely warrants your attention and a swift kernel update once patches are available. Sticking with security news, Fornix is reporting on another vulnerability that just hit the wire, the Safe RET interrupt vulnerability. This one stems from improper handling in Linux's speculative return stack overflow mitigation, and it specifically targets AMD Zen processors from the 1st through 4th generation. The good news is that Linux kernel developers have already pushed patches to address this issue. If you're running an AMD Zen 1, 2, 3, or 4 processor with Linux, keep an eye out for these security updates in your kernel releases. On a more technical front, Fornix is covering an important fix coming in Linux 7.2, RC7. The Btrfs file system had its copy-on-write fix-up mechanism removed during the Linux 7.2 merge window. The developers thought the kernel's memory management had solved the underlying problems, but it turns out they were wrong, seriously wrong. The removal actually led to silent data loss, meaning your data could be corrupted without you even knowing it. The good news is that the Btrfs team is restoring this fix-up worker infrastructure in time for the RC7 release this weekend, and it'll be included in the stable Linux 7.2 kernel dropping later this month. If you use Btrfs, this is a critical fix you'll want. Now let's talk about something that's been causing real headaches in the Linux kernel community. According to Fornix, the Linux wireless networking subsystem is absolutely getting bombarded with AI-generated patches, and kernel maintainers are reaching their breaking point. The wireless maintainer has actually announced a 3-second review policy to deal with what they're calling AI slop patches. But here's the thing, it's not just wireless. Fornix reports that across the broader Linux networking subsystem, AI coding agents are relentlessly sending in low-quality patches, bug reports, and noise. In response, Greg Kroah-Hartman and other maintainers are drawing a hard line. They've decided to reject AI and LLM-generated patches in the kernel staging area, except for legitimate security fixes. The drivers/staging tree is where newcomers are supposed to learn proper kernel development, and AI spam is making that nearly impossible. It's becoming clear that while Linus Torvalds has made peace with AI in Linux, the broader kernel community is fighting back against the noise. Speaking of AI-related cleanup, here's an interesting one from its FOSS. There was a Linux driver for Moxa and Teleo hardware that nobody had touched for literally years. The hardware itself was discontinued way back in 2021 according to Moxa, but the driver was still sitting in the kernel. It took AI agents poking around in the code to finally draw attention to it, and ironically, that ended up getting the driver removed. Sometimes it takes an AI-generated patch or analysis to highlight just how much dead code is cluttering the kernel. While that's not necessarily a bad outcome, it does show that maintainers are increasingly using AI noise as a sign to clean house. If you've been waiting for Proxmox virtual environment to work on ARM64 systems, you've got some good news and some disappointing news. According to its FOSS, Proxmox has officially released ARM64 support powered by Debian 13.5 and Linux 7.0. NVIDIA Grace and Vera systems are fully supported. However, if you were hoping to run Proxmox on your Raspberry Pi, you're out of luck. Those ARM boards aren't on the support list. So while ARM64 support is here, it's limited to enterprise-grade ARM processors rather than consumer-friendly single-board computers. Still, it's a big step forward for virtualization on non-x86 architectures. Moving to driver and hardware updates, Fornix is reporting that AMD has submitted their final planned graphics driver updates for Linux 7.3. The AMD GPU team has been busy with feature work, and they're getting it all in before the merge window opens later this month. Meanwhile, Mesa 26.3 has merged support for AMD's GFX 1171 graphics IP, which is part of the RDNA 4M architecture family. On the Intel side, there are CPU frequency scaling improvements coming for the P-State driver to better handle newer platforms like the Core Ultra Series 3 Panther Lake with dynamic efficiency control. Plus, if you're running an Intel Arc B390-SE3 GPU on Linux, upgrading to a newer Mesa stack on Ubuntu can provide real performance improvements. These kinds of incremental updates might seem routine, but they add up to a noticeably better experience for Linux users with modern hardware. And finally, let's look at some of the good stuff coming in Linux 7.3. According to Fornix, if you own one of the original Valve Steam controllers from a decade ago, you're about to get proper native driver support. For years, these controllers required the Steam client or SDL to function, but Linux 7.3 will fix that gap. Also coming to 7.3 is support for SteelSeries' latest ArcDiz Nova 5X and Nova 7 gaming headsets. Plus, there are improvements to the USB 4 stream feature with a busy poll mode for lower latency transfers, and a new kernel feature called Page Allochogger from a Google engineer that helps stress test memory behavior. Great for debugging and testing how Linux handles demanding memory conditions. It's a solid release shaping up.